Welcome everybody. So the Young India program caters to the needs of around, I would say, 8th class. From then to maybe around your undergraduate degree or whatever, engineering, first year to second year. So practically all of these years where you're talking about, say, from the age of 13 to say the age of 19, 20, practically the teenage years of your life. Now the UPSC preparation is a very wholesome world. I think one never finds a world so complete and so wholesome quite like UPSC. Now UPSC journey itself brings with itself its own challenges like any other journey does. But what the speciality of UPSC is, the syllabus is so huge and the fact that it caters to so many multiple disciplines that it makes it something which is a very convenient sort of a learning mechanism for anything you choose to do in your life. Now, whether you want to choose to become, say, an engineer, whether you want to become something, say, in the field of public policy, governance, or something that you want to do in entrepreneurship, there are certain kind of, say, attitude, there are certain kind of, say, skills that one requires to really stand out. You might be the most talented painter on the face of earth, but if you cannot have the ability or the marketing skill or whatever other terminology you want to add, where you can sell your painting, no matter how great it looks, it is no use. I mean, only when you can sell your product, that is when your talent or your skill has any meaning. Now, this is a very widespread sort of in a very cutthroat terminology that we discuss in a market terminology. Same thing applies for academics. Somewhere I think one assumes that we understand the same things. One always wonders why every student studies the same sort of a syllabus, same textbook, same everything, like you're reading from the same teacher, same notes, same everything, but one ends up doing really well and the other doesn't. Sure, hard work has its role, but a little bit of it also has to do with the fact that you've never actually dived into the whole process of learning as one should. I think one has always mainstreamed learning into making it seem like it's something for the sake of, say, getting a job or like finding a stable, secure. I think the whole joy of learning is a lot greater than that. I remember when I was in, say, class 6 or class 7, my teachers never compelled me to study. They were like, if you don't like what you're doing, just go find something that you like. And I think it's as simple as that. I think the beauty of UPSC is, as much as I could understand this world, is the fact that there is so much for everybody to do. Technically speaking, suppose say if you want to write something which is a very competitive examination like the JEE, you do have the OMR skills and the elimination techniques. Although it's debatable because like the UPSC can be quite the unpredictable where it's eliminated the whole elimination process. Nevertheless, you still have that whole OMR thing going on. Same way the language and the writing part of it, which is the mains, sort of the mains examination of the UPSC. Now, I think, if one comes from, say, an ICSE syllabus where you write a lot, I think all that you've done in your life is to really write. And I think one realizes that one can think multiple things in your head, but things start making sense and it gets a concrete direction only when you put it on the paper. And I think that is the magic of writing. Something that my father always emphasized was that only when you write and show me, that's when I listen to you. And I used to get very offended and irritated when I was a child, but I think it makes a lot of sense now. I think this is what I've understood. And then there's the personality test of it. I think there is no profession in the world quite like being part of governance, whether it's you're a civil servant, whether it's you are an army, whether you are in the sort of politician, whatever it is, nothing like governance. I remember when, as a child, when I was in school, or I remember one thing very standing out. So when I was applying for college, my teachers had written my letters of recommendation, and one of the most standout line was there that as a 5th grader, apparently I never allowed anybody to throw plastic out of the windows when we were traveling in the bus. That's something that made a lot of sense to me. The fact that you want to make a change because you've learned so much. I think when one dives into this whole mechanism of, say, what, I actually know that history is so beautiful. There are sort of cultural differences in our country. There are problems here, and I know that I can make a solution. I can do something about it because I've learned about it. And then I think knowledge gives you that empowerment when you know that something is missing and somewhere you can do something. that is an empowerment that is the highest level of satisfaction. I think one thing I really sort of have learned through my schooling and college and everything, and something that I really like to teach more people, is the fact that whatever you're doing in life, whether you're sitting at home and surfing social media, whether you are, I don't know, a CA in a clock, I don't know, or you are a public servant, doesn't matter. Empathy is a given thing, and sort of realizing that whatever you do should make a difference, and that kindness and that warmth and that knowledge and the understanding that you have should make meaningful difference to other people. Now, when I say meaningful difference to other people, I'm not asking you to build sort of like castles of empires of like charity, but I'm asking you to be an empathetic person who can understand other person's pain. Whether it is, suppose, say Satya Nadella, who's like the CEO of Microsoft, or whether it's any public servant, anybody in the governance, anybody excelling in their own field. You're a painter, you're a dancer, you're a film actor. You will learn that only when you can sort of interact with people, walk a certain way, and use your skills to make meaningful difference, even if it's for one person's life. I think that's when it's meaningful. You are always benefited. Like, you know, one is learned, one is educated, one, you know, is doing a job. You are always benefited. But if you're learning and if your education can help another person, you live even when you're not living. Even when you're dead, you're still alive in your deeds and your thing, which I think is a very meaningful thing. Also, something that I've realized about UPSC is that one always talks about UPSC in a very, very mechanical way, studying for 10 hours or like just sitting and writing down, practicing for the examination, something that could be a life-changing, but also a very, very emotionally dragging and a very sort of a consuming experience. But you can also look at it the other side and feel like, you know, I think I am preparing for this examination, but I think I'm preparing for life itself, because I think now I'm ready to get into practically any field, because that's huge the subject is. And then when I am ready and I have the armory to fight any battle in any condition, I am actually ready to do anything that I want to. Many of these very successful IS officers end up doing something so different to what they're doing. Doctors leave their profession and come here. Many people leave their high-fetching corporate jobs to come here. Not because this is something that is a much more glorious or glamorous world than the other mainstream is, because every profession has got its own fair share of dark side and fair share of beautiful side. But what is beautiful here is that you really do get that experience. I think everyone I've ever interacted who's not sort of gotten through the examination, I think nobody's ever come out and be like, yep, it's painful, but I've learned so much and I feel ready to like make a meaningful difference in the world. I think as a school grader, when one already has these subjects, when you're in school, you already have these subjects of, say, history and geography and, you know, maybe polity in terms of civics and economics, all of these subjects you have in school. But when actually learns that, okay, you know, I can do this to actually make some change there. And, you know, I think, I remember in school when I was around like 14, 15 years, I remember when I first, like the idea of economics was introduced, I was so excited about all of it, and when I understood about sort of sustainable development, all of these concepts, I was so excited that at 15 I started this company called Kaagaz, which is a paper manufacturing company, and I think at 15 me and my friends were selling paper bags and we were doing very good at it. So what I'm trying to say is that I think knowledge gives you that empowerment. I remember everywhere you go, I think one only remembers you by what you've done, and when what you've done, nobody's asking you to do charity. I think even if you're with a smiling face, if you say something meaningful, that makes a lot of difference. And I think indirectly or directly, if UPSC learning can be made and formatted in such a way where your whole education system is making you to become this person who is evoke, who is learned, who is self-independent, who has the right attitude. You know, like the questions that I would like to ask any civil servant is something which I think every citizen should be asked, not just a UPSC aspirant, whether it's their opinion on, say, something as sensitive as marital rape, their opinion and their understanding about something as critical as, say, India's foreign policy, something as critical as, suppose, the science and technology and research, how much we're lagging in research in our country. Now, you don't have to be sort of specialized in any of it, but you should still know because it affects your life. I think one might continue to deny that you can live a very aloof life where you can sort of dictate your life on your own terms, but we do realize that somewhere directly or indirectly everything around us affects us, no matter if we want it to affect us or not. If when there was a lockdown, no matter if you were, even if you were the richest person in the country, you were still under house arrest. So clearly there is something bigger than that, something bigger than all of us that's sort of binding us. And all we can do is use that knowledge and skill. And knowledge and skill, I think knowledge is power is the most sort of mainstream but extremely effective dialogue, because what it genuinely does is it doesn't give you a weapon and say just go and fight, but it gives you a platform where you're saying that, listen, I know the solution for it, I know I can do something better here. That's an attitude that I feel like should be given to all of us, that sure we have our own passions, but I think if your passions can make meaningful difference wherever you are, I think it makes for a greater sort of a collaborative and encompassing world for all of us. And I think I've tried to share something meaningful here, and thank you so much. I hope you've sort of understood why I care so much about the UPSC syllabus and these sort of the entire preparation and the entire sort of syllabus of it, mainstream. You know, how I'd like for school students to look at it in a very encouraging way, because it really is sort of thought-provoking, and it really can change your life and your attitude more than anything else. Right, thank you so much.